Hey, hi, hello. This video is me finally sitting down and talking about books. What a novel idea. I did not even plan that. I like it. Before I start talking about my favorite books of the year so far, which is what this video is going to be, I need to talk about a couple of other things first. Really quick. I'll make it short, I hope. Hopefully. We'll see. I know that I have not been filming, and that is certainly because I have not felt like it. I have been struggling. There's a difference between someone who likes to be at home, like myself, and being forced to be at home, which is what we've been for months and months now. So I need to make this casual, because if I try to be all fancy, it's gonna make it even harder for me to want to film. And also, I don't want to fake it. I want to be myself. And this lockdown has been something. I've been locked down since March. It's August. I have completely followed all the instructions. I have not gone to any public places unless it was needed. And that has led to other side effects, like me either not wanting to read at all, or me wanting to read absolutely everything that I possibly can get my hands on, to the point where I'm going through so many books at once and never finish any because I've started so many. Suffice it to say, you would think being at home all of the time would be great for a reader like me, but it turns out it's horrible, and it has been horrible. Which is why I have lost motivation to film videos. The other issue is that I have read mostly books this year that I can describe as meh. That's how I feel about almost everything I read this year. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's my mindset, if it's because of what's been going on in the world. I don't know if I just have been choosing books that have not been really speaking to me or blowing my mind, but I have really read very little this year that I've loved. It's really disheartening. It's really hard when I start my booktube channel and I have so many books that I just don't even care to talk about. So that is me whining and calling myself out and being honest in that I have not had a good reading year. I have not had good motivation. I have not had a good filming setup or situation, and I'm hoping to get better. I've read a couple of really great books in the past few weeks, and I have some more that I'm in the middle of reading that I love as well. So I'm hoping this kicks into gear and I can get back to filming and reading and finishing books a lot more frequently. Let's hope that I do. Okay, let's do this. That was enough of what I said. I said it was gonna be short. Was it? I don't think it was. That was not brief. Story of my life. 2020. 8 months in, I have read 46 books. 46 books is really not bad at all. I'm not mad about that. I don't care if I read 7 books. My goal was 53, and the reason why I set 53 books as my reading goal for Goodreads was because that's 1 book a week, essentially, in a year. And I think reading 1 book a week for a whole year is a good amount, definitely. Let's talk about books. The book that blew me away was Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. Rebecca is everything to me. I started listening to this on audiobook when I did my makeup one day, and it does not take me that long, and by the end of it, I knew I had to buy the book. Maybe 15 minutes, and I knew I wanted it. That might have partly been the narrator's fault, because she was, oh my gosh, perfect for the atmosphere of this book, and how she read, just, amazing, chef's kiss. But the writing itself, I was mesmerized. And then I did something that I've never done before, which was listen to the audiobook while I read the book at the same time. I had to speed up the audio a little bit, but it was still such a great experience. It made it so much more immersive and just tangible, and I really would open it and have the headphones in, and this is not headphones, okay, headphones in, and I would just feel transported. Not only is it Daphne du Maurier's writing that I loved, it was the domestic gothic eeriness. In Rebecca, you are following a young woman who is newly married to a Mr. De Winters, and she is taken back to his huge, beautiful manor type home called Manderley. And while she's in Manderley, she can't escape the presence of his recently deceased wife, the former Mrs. De Winters. I would refer to it as domestic, but I wouldn't want people to have the expectations of it being a thriller. If you like that old gothic manor and hint of, is something more going on here that I'm aware of? What's happening really here? This book blew me away. I loved it. I loved it. The next book that I loved, like I just said, is Black Girl Unlimited by Echo Brown. Oh my gosh. There are very few books that I've read in my life that impacted me as much as reading this one. It is heavy with magical realism, and the magical realism is what makes it so special and powerful in my opinion. Echo is a wizard, and she has these different powers and capabilities that she's learning about, but with those comes other things that her abilities can't always help her with. It's part memoir. Some of the topics that this book covers are poverty, sexual violence, depression, racism, and sexism. Anyone who works with people who may still be struggling with things that have happened in their life, I feel like they should read and recommend this book to everyone. Every chapter is a lesson. I genuinely cannot give enough praise for this book, can't beg you enough to read it. There are a lot of issues that are covered, so if you do need trigger warnings, I would look into those. I think any book that has the power to do that and the power to at the same time give you hope, my gosh, it's excellence. And in the book club, the Top Shelf Society, which I'm a part of, we read this and did a live show discussing it, so I will link that below if you're interested. This book is incredibly powerful, incredibly important, and I feel like it has the ability to make people feel seen and also at the same time hopeful. My other favorite, A Heart So Fierce and Broken by Brigid Kemmerer. Can you hear the shock in my voice? I started this book, got a couple chapters in. As I said, my reading's been all over the place. Put it down, didn't pick it up for at least a month or two, picked it up again, started over, and read it all in a day and a half. This book is the sequel to A Curse So Dark and Lonely, which is, I think the best way to describe it is more of a retelling of Beauty and the Beast with a modern twist to it. Where the first book follows Harper and Wren, this book follows Gray and another character that I can't talk about. This book taught me about myself. This book taught me that I'm not sure that I will ever be an epic fantasy person, to be honest. I haven't read much epic fantasy, but I have learned over time that I like fantasy that I don't have to think too hard about. Reading fantasy is typically just for escapism and enjoyment for me. I can have heavier topics in books. I can enjoy reading things that are complicated and difficult, but fantasy, for some reason for me, that is just where I want to be swept away into the world. I don't want to have to think too hard. I want to just go and enjoy the whimsy and the magic, not always whimsy, but the magic and that reality and that realm. It's so hard for me to follow and keep track of. I really struggle with wanting to read it. I don't want to have to work when it comes to that for some reason. That's just me. I don't know what it is, but I need to find more books like this. This is what people would call low fantasy, I believe. where it's a fantasy realm. Yes, it's not modern day, but it doesn't take a lot for you to know and learn about it. You don't need to learn different magic systems. You don't need to learn different. It's easy and it's wonderful. I actually enjoyed these characters even more than the ones in the first book, which I wasn't sure about. I was really thinking I was gonna miss them a lot, and they did come back in this quite a bit as well, but I loved these characters and I loved the story, and it was exactly what I wanted. I can't emphasize how much I enjoyed this book. The outline, the plot, the characters, what happened with them, where the story went, where the next book is going to go seemingly. I just ate it up like dessert. Please, 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 if you know any other low fantasy books like this, I am talking Brigid Kemmerer apparently with this duology, trilogy, whatever it's going to be. Another one that I'm thinking of is Margaret Rogerson with the Sorcery of Thorns and An Enchantment of Ravens. That's the same vibe I like, where it's fantasy, but it's low fantasy. It's not crazy complex. If you know what I'm talking about, if you understand the vibe I'm going for and what I desperately love in my fantasy books, please let me know. I'm begging you, and I will thank you so much if you can let me know other books in the comments that are in that same vein. My other favorite book of this year, I got knowing nothing about it except for this cover and the author. This is everything I want. The chandelier, which makes me think of gothic vibes. The green, the lime green, which is like eerie and in your face at the same time, and the author, Riley Sager. Riley Sager wrote Lock Every Door. I know he wrote other things, but that's the one that I read and I loved. I loved Lock Every Door. And knowing that he wrote that and what the cover of this book looks like, I just dove headfirst without questioning, without learning anything about it. I went for it and it paid off. For once, I'm happy. One thing I will say that I noticed, maybe it's just me, but like Lock Every Door and Home Before Dark, the titles don't have much to do with what the plot is about. I always find that weird. Like, I feel like titles should relate to the book, and these two at least, like, I mean, yeah, in that book you should lock your doors, and in this one the home is the problem, so why would you want to be home before dark? I don't get it. Neither here nor there. The point is, this is what I love. Home Before Dark is essentially 2 books in one. It's a book within a book. Hello? Yes, please. I will take it. The book within the book is a story written by the main character's father. That book that he wrote is about the time that they spent at a house that they owned. And that house, according to his book, was incredibly haunted. The thing is, the main character was a child at the time and has no memory of any of it. So she doesn't believe that that story is even real, but it got so much fame and recognition that it has basically followed her throughout her whole life. A lot of people know her, a lot of people know of the home, know about it all, and for her, she can't stand it. She hates being defined by that in this time period that she doesn't even remember. She kind of thinks her dad is a liar and her parents are liars. And through a stream of events, she will be going back to the house. And so you alternate between her time in the present at the home and the story that the father wrote about their time at the home when they were younger. I'm not saying it was a flawless masterpiece, but what I'm saying is I loved it. It is exactly the type of genre that I like. I really like books about the paranormal and the supernatural. Are those different words? I feel like that's the same meaning. But I love those stories. My issue is that most of them end up not being paranormal or supernatural, which I want it to be. And my other issue is that one author in particular, and I'm sure you'll know who he is, has the monopoly over the entire horror genre. If you go to the store and look, There's literally bookshelves of all of his books. Help me. I want horror books that can have paranormal in it. It doesn't have to, but that's even better if it does. But I don't like gory or graphic or body horror. I just like that spooky, eerie vibe. You know when you're in a haunted house and you just are always looking over your shoulder and you don't know what's gonna jump out and what to expect, and it's got that slow build? That's the kind of stories that I like. So once again, if you have any recommendations, let me know. My cat is losing her mind. Are you okay? You got a poofy tail. My other favorite book of this year was Such a Fun Age by Kiley Reid. Such a Fun Age is a book about a young black woman who is a babysitter for a wealthy white family. The catalyst or the event that is what led to the rest of what happens in this book was when the babysitter Amira gets called in really late at night as she was at a birthday party with friends. She was dressed like one does to go to a birthday party. The mom calls asking if she can take the young girl, I think she's 3 years old, away for a little while because there's an emergency at home and she just wants the girl to not be there. Mira picks her up and takes her to a grocery store, and they're just kind of trying to spend some time walking around looking at things around the grocery store. Then a white woman initiates a security guard to see if she stole that girl, essentially. See if she stole the girl that she babysits. And this starts a confrontation of questioning her for no reason at all. And then the book follows Amira and Alex, who is the mom. You kind of alternate their different perspectives. The thing that I will say that this book did so powerfully was have a really good sense of character. I really felt like I knew Alex and Amira and that they were real people. I absolutely loved how much Kiley Reid delved into the characters' minds and thoughts and behaviors. I read some Own Voices reviews, and there seems like there's a little bit of discrepancy on if how some of the characters spoke was realistic or not, or if they were just stereotypical. So I would always encourage people to read Own Voices reviews. The book has wonderful commentary and examples on performative allyship. And again, I flew through this book in less than a day. And I have to say, ever since then, I still keep thinking back to it. And it's one of those books that I just think that I'll continue to think back on it. Those were my 5 favorite books in no order that I read in 2020. I do have some honorable mentions, but I'm going to just share them rather than talk a lot about them because I feel like this video is long enough already. Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. I have a whole video on my thoughts about that, which I will also link below. It was a mystery date that was given to me by Faye from Mystery Date with a Book, and another one that I occasionally will think back on and thought was really good. Another is Emma by Jane Austen. I had only read Pride and Prejudice from Jane Austen, and this one hit me at the right time. We were starting in lockdown at the beginning of the year, and I was not in a great headspace, and this was just a really good place to escape to. A book that I agree with the quote on the cover from Eden Robinson is that it was chilling in the best way possible. And that was Moon of the Crusted Snow by Waubgeshig Rice. This was very chilling, but a wonderful look at the Anishinaabe reservation and community during a time of crisis that isn't ever really explained, but you get to see the consequences and outcome of them as a community trying to learn how to survive. I also thought that This Is How You Lose the Time War by Amal El-Mohtar and Max Gladstone was so beautifully written. It was such an interesting and odd short book, but the writing was lyrical, poetic, sharp sometimes, beautiful. And another honorable mention, which I also talked about in a 12-hour readathon, was The City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty. This one was another world that I loved diving into. The characters were great, the writing great, the story great. It was great. That's the best I can say. It was great. I really enjoyed this book, and I'm ready to pick up the second one. It's a lot of pages and I get intimidated. Also, No Exit by Taylor Adams. Again, not a perfect book, but I will say that was the most thrilling, page-turning book that I can remember reading in the longest time. It is the definition of a thriller and a page-turner. I did not get off of the couch until I had finished it. I opened the book, read the entire thing, and didn't get up again until I closed it. Those were the best books that I read this year so far. We still have quite a few months left, but man, we're getting to the end of the year. And hopefully there will be more great books ahead this year. And I would love to hear what books that you read this year that you loved, and if you have any recommendations knowing what I just said that I enjoy in books. Thank you so much for sticking around. I look forward to filming more and hopefully reading more good books. I really need it. This year I have been struggling with books. I hope you find other books that you love as well. Take care. Bye.